All right. What if life was fair? Before we get into that, Jeff is going to help me because he's just brilliant at this whole fair and equity and justice thing. But I want to let you know, coming up, there's going to be 10 minutes without Tara. My husband's going to take over because I've got a few big deals that I have to do. And one of them is going to go check out colleges with one of my daughters. And then I'm headed to Zambia. I'm an evangelist, and I'm working with a global network of evangelists with the Palau Association. And the kind of cool story there is I started off with them, close to 15 years ago. Started off working with evangelists. I call it carrying their suitcases, working in these eyeglass clinics and learning about how to do the gospel, and just got addicted to it. I found, the epicenter of who Christ has made me to be, being the epicenter of his love and his desire that all be saved, that none should perish. And I started off that, and then I went to a few other evangelists. One of them was Reed Saunders, and I got to introduce him. I get to go on stage and introduce him, tell my story, part of my testimony. And now, full circle, I'm actually one of the evangelists for one of the major festivals we're having in Zambia. I'll be in the Copper Belt. So while I'm there, I don't know what the interwebs is going to be like. And I know they have electricity. They have a lot more than that. They're much more advanced than that. But I don't know what the internet's going to be like. So I'm going to trust my husband, Jeff, and you can too, to basically let you know why you're such a big deal. But now, okay, let's go back to the beginning.
So this is the beautiful setup for fairness, because I'm just telling you, is it fair or is it not fair that she gets to go to Zambia and I get to stay here and work? I don't know. What do you think? I mean, literally, what do you think? Is that something that I should cry out as an injustice, or is something that's just not? And
she's a girl, and she gets to go.
Equitable, and not only that, I got to do her job while she's gone. Yeah. I got to do her. Wow, that's really not fair. Well, okay.
And my job is like all the girls, and I do. I call it girl stuff. It's guy stuff too. I mean, but I have my part when I'm home. I do, the laundry, the cooking, the dishes, because he works all day long at a job. I'm home. I'm going to do that stuff. But
I don't make dirty dishes while she's gone.
So
I eat off the same plate, same cup, everything.
The same fast food restaurant.
It's fair.
Okay.
So we're kind of back to here's the problem, I think, with fairness. Okay, fairness assumes life in a vacuum. It assumes that everything is exactly equal and the same. So, and I'll give you the example that I used to love, and all of my kids, they will not tell you. Actually, my oldest might be getting to the point where he's got a daughter who's going to be entering toddler world, or is entering toddler world, and he might be moving into that place where he begins to go, oh, I understand what Dad was saying about fairness. So my kids would say something like, well, that's not fair. They get, especially a younger one talking about the older one.
They get to stay
my
up till
older
11.
Sister gets to stay up till 11, and I've got to go to bed now. That's not fair. Or worse than that, an older one who was given more responsibility. Well, that's not fair. I've got to do the dishes when my younger sibling doesn't have to do the dishes. And this is one of my favorite things. Okay, well, we can make it fair, but to make it fair, we got to make everything equal. Now, I can't give a 6-year-old the privileges of a 16-year-old. So the only way I can make this fair is to make you a 6-year-old again. You want to go there?
Yeah.
You got to go to bed you're both going to bed at 7:30. You're both watching G movies that I've approved. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be in the middle of Friends. I'm gonna be in the middle of sleepovers. I'm gonna be at school all the time. I'm gonna be in the middle of your world. You want to go back to that? Because that's the only way we can make this fair. Because you're assuming that we can make it equitable, which is why that's such a ridiculous word. Because, I mean, like, take anything. Take 2 cars, unless they're the exact same thing, they're not equal. There's no way to make them equal.
You can have a Prius and right next to a Mustang.
And the Mustang will kick butt on the quarter mile over the Prius.
But they're both cars. It should be fair. They should both go.
But the Prius will go much farther on a tank of gas.
Yeah.
There's not, and if you start going, well, it's not fair, he can go faster. Well, it's not fair, he can go farther. And you get into this you get into this silly battle of fair and unfair when what you need to be looking at is what is just. Okay, here and really, justice applies to, for instance, let's go to the car. Justice, it's unjust if my Prius doesn't get 80 miles to the gallon because that's what I was promised. It's unjust if my Mustang doesn't do the quarter mile in 6.5 seconds because that's what I was promised. But I have to understand that in those promises, one uses more gas, one uses less gas, one goes faster, one goes slower, and that's just because it is what was agreed upon. It is what was presented. It is to the identity of the parts in play at the moment, as opposed to us who, and I'm just going to say it, to our selfish view that I should get everything everyone else has. Because that's when fairness comes into play, right? When I don't get what I see that person has, it's fueled by envy, it's fueled by jealousy, it's not fueled by justice. Fairness doesn't care. If I agree to buy the Prius and have the gas mileage, well, then I agree not to go as fast. And it's not fairness.
Yeah, that's just a solid word right there. You know what you got. You can't sit there with your Prius and be all upset that your Prius isn't going as fast as a Mustang. I mean, you already knew when you got it, it would not have that power. You knew that when you got that, you were going to save $400 a month on gas, most likely, if not more.
So can I really trip you now?
Yes, please.
It's not fair for someone, and I'm going to be careful, but I'm going to be bold. It's not fair for someone who hasn't gone to 8 years of college, taken medical bar exams, to think they should make the same money serving coffee, making cappuccinos, which I will tell you, I love coffee, and there is skill to that. And I will gladly pay a better barista for a better cup of coffee than one who is not as good. But that's not this. There's no fairness.
What do you now say that again? You're saying it's not fair that you're thinking if you make a cup of coffee, you should make the same thing as a surgeon?
For someone who hasn't gone to 8 years of school, done an internship at a hospital, worked their tail off, taken a bar exam, and passed, it's fair that they make more money. And it's not even fair. Again, really throw that word out. It's just. They have done a much harder set of work to accomplish a bigger task. And it isn't to say, but here's the cool thing. It isn't, and this is where we get screwed up on fairness, because here's what I love Dutch Brothers, not because of all the syrup they use. They don't use a lot of syrup, but I love Dutch Brothers. You know why? Because to own a Dutch Brothers, you need a barista who has been trained up and is successful.
He's saying he loves Dutch Brothers, the company.
Not the coffee.
No.
No, because if you want to have a Dutch Brothers franchise, you
you
have to have it has to be run by a Dutch Brothers barista.
Yeah.
Someone who is like a journeyman barista in the Dutch Brothers world. And that speaks to an accomplishment that fits that. And I'm assuming you make a pretty good living if you're a barista and you own a Dutch Brothers, okay? But you've done more work than the guy who shows up and in 2 weeks can make a cup of coffee. That's not the same thing, and it's not equitable, it's not fairness, it's just. And that's what we have to get back to.
And how do we get back to that? Well, the thing is, the more of us that are bringing the kingdom on earth, the more of us that are abiding in our Father and abiding in Him, the more of us that are doing that, we can bring more of the kingdom down where we are. We're participating, we're voting, we're a voice at our kids' school. We go to the functions, we participate, we lend to that, we volunteer, we bring the kingdom wherever we go. And when we do that, the more of us that are doing that and taking action, the better off for everyone around us, because we're bringing kingdom justice down. And when we do that, we are ambassadors. There's a word, it's colonization, is that it? But it's like, and I know that as a really negative connotation to it, but what we're doing is we're colonizing the earth with the kingdom of God. And that is just. And everybody's fed, everybody is taken care of, everybody they have access to peace, to knowledge, to wisdom, to discernment. The widows and orphans are being cared for. Kingdom justice is amazing, and we can bring that down on earth. Why? because you're kind of a big deal, and it's time to get out there and start doing that. All right, God bless you. Bye.